I'm now going to discuss the relationship between the physiological principles of heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen demand and energy sources in relation to cardio exercise. The three cardio exercises I went through with Nick were the rowing machine with some work on the cross trainer and some step-ups, but this information can equally be applied to any cardio exercise. So first principle I'm going to talk about is the change in heart rate. During aerobic exercise, the heart rate increases to enable blood to travel more quickly around the body and deliver oxygen to the working muscles to meet the oxygen demands of these muscles. Our heart rate increases when exercise intensity increases, as more oxygen is required for the muscles to work, and this places a greater demand on the heart. After periods of cardio training, the heart will become stronger, and this results in an increase in stroke volume for the same intensity level of exercise. By stroke volume, I mean that the heart has been trained more effectively to pump blood around the body with each beat. This is why fitter people have a lower resting heart rate, as their heart rate does not rise in the same way a person who hasn't been training will rise for the same amount of exercise. Second area I'm going to talk about is oxygen demands, which I just discussed a little bit there. So as well as the heart beating faster when we do exercise to pump more oxygen to the working muscles, we need more oxygen to enter into our body. Our respiratory rate is the rate at which we breathe in and out. And in the short term, as we exercise, our respiratory rate will increase during exercise as the oxygen demands to the muscles are increased. However, over time, with more cardio training, this rate will decrease due to the heart being able to pump more blood with each contraction and deliver more oxygen to the body this way. So with cardio, all of this cardio training that we went through with Nick will increase our total lung capacity over time. Always when you're doing cardio exercise or just in general, taking deeper breaths is much more effective way to bring that oxygen into the body than taking short, shallow breaths, which you often find that people who aren't used to training do. The third physiological principle I'm going to talk about is blood pressure. So blood pressure is the force that blood moves around the body and exerts on the walls of the arteries as it moves. Blood pressure is highest during the systolic phase, where the heart contracts to force blood through the arteries. And this is what we call systolic blood pressure. When the heart is resting between beats, blood pressure falls to its lowest value, or diastolic pressure. A typical healthy individual produces a systolic pressure of between 20 to 120 millimetres of mercury, and a diastolic pressure of between 60 and 80. Taken together, a normal blood pressure reading is a bit less than 120 over 80. And a reduction of as little as 3 millimetres in the average person's systolic blood pressure has been estimated to reduce coronary heart disease by 5 to 9%, and strokes by 8 to 14%, and all-cause mortality by 4%. So get on those step-ups as a good training regime helps to bring blood pressure back to normal rates if it is raised. The last physiological principle I'm going to talk about is energy sources. So our energy intake comes from the food and the drink we consume. It's very important to maintain a balanced diet while training, and the amount of food we consume should equal the energy we're expending in training, as well as maintaining our bodily functions. So energy expenditure refers to the amount of energy or calories used to maintain life and perform certain activities. Interesting, the resting metabolism accounts for approximately 60 to 75% of energy expenditure. The thermic effect of food accounts for 10%, and physical activity only accounts for between 15 and 30%. Obviously, the more physical activity you're doing, particularly cardio, the more good foods, nutritional foods, proteins, carbohydrates and vegetables you need to consume. Another thing to keep in mind when doing cardio exercise is the amount of time it takes for food to be processed. So the transit time of food from eating to stomach is approximately 1 hour for liquids and 2 hours for carbohydrates. 3 hours for proteins and 5 hours for fats. So to prevent nausea, cramping or fullness during exercise, a meal low in fat, high in carbohydrates and with some protein should be consumed 3 to 4 hours prior to commencement of training. Fluid replacement during exercise is important at a rate of 250 millilitres every 15 minutes, as well as it's important to make sure that you're hydrated before and after you exercise.